who came up with the idea for the band Order?
Well, that was Anders Olden's idea. So he thought it would be a good idea to see if we could do something with Cadaver and Old Mayhem. And so, well, I said it was okay. It was the time, at the time I had the time for it. So I said, why not? And so did the others. So René and Anders from Cadaver and Billy and I from Old Mayhem. We just met up and we enjoyed it. When he started to play, I realized I missed it. So I've been doing a lot of noise and avant-garde-ish music in between Mayhem and Order, and it was nice to come back to metal again.
And what was the idea behind the musical direction for the band?
Well, it wasn't so much of an idea. It was more like a jam where we were looking to see if we can bring something contemporary, but still have the sound from the old days. That was basically what we talked about. But the musical sound of Order, that was something that came out of just jamming together and see where things took us. So the sound pretty much went into a certain path, and after a while we ended up with a couple of songs which really set up the sound of Order. So it's a collaborative stuff. It wasn't designed, it was something that just came into being when we started to play together. So the right way to do it in my way.
Okay, so after leaving Mayhem you had a quite long break from playing a similar style, but you were involved in various projects. What was the moment that you returned to heavy sounds? You've got some kind of impulse?
No, it's I'm not sure. Well, when you do music and if you're not an entertainer but you're making music, and it's something that you you hold inside of yourself, and that's where you find your muse. It's not exoteric, it's esoteric, so to speak. So I never left any of the tradition that I represent. I never left Mayhem in the sense of the feel and the spirit of metal. But I liked extreme expression. So what I spent time on was, well, when I got my life in order after Mayhem, so that's first I didn't do any music after Mayhem for a few years, but that is a different story. But when I started to do music again, that was actually noise that made my heart tick again, where I found that I was inspired to see if I could do something new, to see if I could explore that part of me, which I really find interesting. The expression where you challenge the feelings that are in the more extreme area, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I also did some avant-garde stuff with Konrad Schnitzler and
I will ask about it later.
Yeah, so and that's a different drive I have. It's not extreme, but it's more experimental. It's more you go into this explore mode. It's not making songs. It's more project. Of course, we made a few records together, and we did a lot of concerts. But it's different. It's different than a metal band. A metal band is more. It craves more of you. It needs more attention. There's a lot of things that needs to be done to make a metal band work, which you don't have to think about when you do noise and improvised, stage stunts. So I had a pretty good time, and I had kids at the time, and have small kids and do bands. It's not a very good combination, not in my opinion anyway. So it was a perfect time for me to just explore that part of myself and the music interest I have. When I came back to metal, then that was when I had the time to do so. So, and Order was a perfect opportunity to do that, and it turned out pretty well, in my opinion. Of course, we had our troubles, and we have only released 2 albums in 10 years. So we could have been more productive, but you know, shit happens all the time in my life, and so it also does that with orders. So, but I think we're on a good path. Hopefully tonight we're doing this into a venue, and you can hear the guys in the background. But hopefully tonight we will show what Order is about. It's more about a band who really love to play music, and we don't try to be the new wine, but we definitely want to express what we have inside. So.
On the beginning, you mainly played Mayhem and Cadaver songs on rehearsals. What was the moment that you figured out that maybe we can do something what new?
Oh, well, that was from the start.
Ah,
Yes, so we're still doing Mayhem songs actually. We're going to play some Mayhem songs tonight.
ah,
So, but Cadaver is something different. So we don't do Cadaver songs. But we were that was actually on the premise from the start. We're going to make music, and that's what drives me. I like to make music. I like to play music, perform. And I like to make music. I don't like the cheering that much, but with being on stage and having concerts, I love it. So yeah.
the band that directed you towards heavier music, I think, is Celtic Frost.
One of them, yes.
And even you recorded Procreation of the Wicked.
Yeah, well, I have to. It's true. Celtic Frost was one of the most influential bands, in my opinion, when it comes to how I explored metal. But my interest in metal came long before that, before Celtic Frost even existed. First of all, Hellhammer was a bigger influence, but that's the same guys, so you know
true.
it's yeah. But really, you have to go back to Black Sabbath. You have to go back to bands like, you know, well, British heavy metal even. You know. There's something there that drives you into a direction. But the Uriah Heep, Black Sabbath, you know, bands like that was important for us. So I never liked the lighter side of metal or rock. That was they never ticked on my side. So I'm one of the few persons in the world in the metal who doesn't like Kiss. We didn't like Kiss in the 70s either. I didn't like it. So that said, it's a great rock and roll band, but it's not my type of music. So, but I loved a lot of the metal stuff that was going on in the 70s. I think more heavy part of it was the foundation of what we were part of in the 80s, and yeah, I thoroughly mean that. I don't know what Celtic Frost defines as their, you know, inspirations, but you always have an inspiration. You come from somewhere. So.
You have two albums released, and Gospel was released in 2021. So when we can expect new music?
Well, hopefully next year. So we're talking about we're saying 2024, so that would be 2025. So we're on Listenable, and we are at least we have promised Listenable the master tape in later this year. And hopefully then we will be able to release a new album next year. The first, well, not in January, but maybe in May. I don't know. Listenable will decide. But we're getting there. I'm positive.
Are you afraid about this is the third album? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The most bands' third album is breakthrough. Do you
Yeah.
have any pressure?
Yeah. I don't think about that, but I understand that you talk about it. I think that has much to do with expectations. So both probably within the band as well as outside the band. What we need to do is, I'm more concerned about us having the muse, you know, high and be able to really keep the intensity. So if we're not doing that, we're not going to release anything. But I'm not afraid of it. Of course, people have expectations now. The Gospel and Lex Amentia is two different types of album. Still, they're connected. You can hear it's the same band, but it's like the Gospel is more of a conceptual album. Lex Amentia is a collection of quite strong songs, in my opinion, but it's through different ways. I'm not sure we're going to end up with the next one, but so far it looks good. So. But you know, I don't make music for you, and may sound strange, but I don't. I enjoy that people like our music. I respect our fans, and I think it's quite nice that people actually give us attention. But the making of the music, it's not on that premise. The premise is what we want to make, and it's relaxing to be in that part. I'm glad I'm not a pop musician, or that this is something I really depend on. I have other sources of money, so I can concentrate on music, freed for any pressure to make something that people like. And I think that will probably make a better album. We'll see.
Musically, you oscillate around a similar style to that associated with Mayhem, but with greater dose of atmosphere.
Okay.
Does that term, raw Nordic black death metal, describe what you play well?
Say again?
I mean, does the term raw Nordic black death metal describe what you play well?
I don't know. Let others decide to categorize us. I have respect for people who try to see similarities and want to share experiences and want to say it's part of this genre, metal genre, to see different paths and the genres within the major. But in my opinion, that's not something that I care too much about. Even when we started Mayhem, we didn't start black metal. Black metal became after that. We didn't try to make anything. We made something that we wanted to make. So if that turns out to be this type or that type, well, that's not important.
True. In some vocal parts, Billy reminds me a combination of Maniac and Attila vocals. You could say that this is the perfect vocal sound for your music. Do you agree?
Well, thank you. I never thought about it in that way, but of course we are what we are. We come from the tradition we do, so there's no wonder that you can do this comparison and place it within. But when it comes to the studio albums, we do both vocals, both me and Messiah. So that's probably something that you can hear, that we do different styles. But when you hear us live, as you will do later, you will see that Messiah is doing great vocals. And I will say that maybe he is closer to what was originally actually thought of as the vocal. When we started, because he was the first vocalist in Mayhem. So if he hadn't quit, maybe that would be the sound. But because he hasn't changed the way he sings, so when we cheer with Mayhem these days, they still do the same stuff. So we do Necrolust, for instance. We're going to do that tonight. We do that with Mayhem as well, with Messiah on the vocals. That's a different sound than with Maniac. So I think it's just that we allow each musician to express themselves the way they want to express themselves. Everything is great, I'm not orthodox. I know Euronymous was, but that I thought that was stupid. I don't like orthodoxy. I like people to be free and see where things go. I don't want to close things down into certain types of expression.
In order, play Andres Oden from Cadaver. From Cadaver. I read that he organized tours around Norway, showing the most important places related to the events of the 90s.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
Yeah, it's in connection to the Inferno Festival. He has this touring where people can join, where he tells about the story and history of things. So yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask about various stories from the past. Is it okay?
Sure.
Together with Necrobutcher and Euronymous, you founded Mayhem, the band which was supposed to be darker and more gloomy than what you have been played so far. And it seems that due to the events that came later, it became darker than you could even imagined.
Yeah, I think that kind of is obvious. It turned out darker than we might have expected, but that's more, it's a difference between the artistic part, the thing that you express with your feelings, where you wanna explore anger, sadness, anxiety, things that at least we three felt a lot about. So, and that's one thing. The other part is to see where this is getting out of hand, where people misunderstand the message, because the message wasn't killing people. That was not the message. That's someone else's ideology. So, in my opinion, it was. Of course, we were anti-Christian. Of course, we were quite aggressive against authoritarian and authorities in general. But Mayhem was more about the expression that we were trying to have a comment on the world we lived in. So Mayhem's story has turned out to be a tragedy, and I understand the interest in it. I'm glad to be touring with Mayhem now after 40 years, and it's the music that's in the center of it. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just like to think it is this way, but I believe that the music has survived. Everything else is kind of a background history, and of course it brings a lot of attention maybe still. But without the music, we wouldn't have been touring 4 years after. So.
You recorded the cult material Death Crash with Mayhem, which is still being reissued with various formats. Do you collect all them? There are so many versions
all
of
the versions of Death Crash? No, I just have the first one. So, and I have the first number. I have the number 3, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
It's enough, No, I'm not a collector. I respect collectors, but I'm not a collector. I'm not that attached to objects and things. I'm more attached to relations and feelings and relations. Things doesn't matter that much to me.
You recorded. You also had the opportunity to work with Konrad Schinzeler.
Yeah.
Who recorded the entire intro, Sylvester Unfuck. That opens Death Crash. How did this cooperation came about?
Well, actually, that was. I'm not sure if it was coincidental, but for me it was, because there was 2 guys, Norwegians, who had this. I would call it a very high interest in Kraut's music, Konrad Schnitzler, Tangerine Dream. The early German movement around, Kraftwerk and everything. So they were kind of doing these albums where they were tributing that period of music. And one day, one of them gave me a call. No, they sent me an email and asked if I could be interested in participating in some collaboration. And they called the band Big Robot.
Yeah.
And I asked a few questions what it was all about. They were young and they were obviously knew their stuff. So when they said that they were also talking to Konrads, it was easy. So then I just said, well, of course. And it turned out to be some great years. We gave out a few records, and we did a couple of concerts, well, more than a couple, where Con also contributed. Con never left Berlin, but he shipped off his music, and we used it in concerts. So that's the story of that. Sadly it's dead now, but it was a great period of time. Yeah.
And what was your part in these albums which you record with him?
Well, I did percussion, so I was doing drums and stuff like that, and it was highly improvisational, so we were doing improv concerts. But when it came to the different albums, I was doing percussion. So the same. I wasn't the driver, maybe. I don't think I was the driver when it came to the whole package of the music. I think that was the 2 guys, Ola and this other guy. But But yeah, definitely I did my part. One of the albums was actually started with only the drums. So we started doing rhythm pieces, and because we did stuff in the spirit of Khan. Khan was very experimental. He was open to do different stuff with the music. So we started just recording different rhythm pieces, and from there we built up all the music. It was great fun.
Except that experimental music, you were playing with Euronymous in LEGO.
Yeah.
I cannot say the full name.
No, it's no, yeah. So it stands for Langhus Experimentelle Gravkammerorkester. So there you are. That's in Norwegian. So, but that was our experimental part, yes, and yeah. So you can say that Big Robot was part of that tradition. And if Iceland had lived still, we would probably do that type of music projects together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe last question about Death Crash to close this moment.
Yeah,
And
sure.
after recording Death Crash, you left the band. What was the reason?
Well, it was personal reasons, you know. I was somewhere else than the band was. Yeah, well, the band wasn't. Everyone thinks in linear part, but Mayhem was at that moment. It wasn't, you know, obvious that Mayhem would continue as a band. So, and I had other priorities. I didn't want to go out on tour. I wanted to have other things in life, and I wasn't sure Mayhem would go any further after Death Crash. I was wrong, obviously, but that was the point. So it was personal reasons and nothing to do with Mayhem.
I heard that Euronymous was so pissed off when he heard that you are leaving.
Yeah, he was mad.
He was trying to stop you?
Yeah, and he was angry because he thought that I was destroying Mayhem's opportunities. I was on the opposite. I said that it's different. I'm making it possible for you to go on with Mayhem because I was on a different path. And things calmed down quite fast. So we ended up being close friends till his death. So that was just, you know, I understand that he was angry because he was worried about the band. But I think it turned out quite well.
Okay.
Yeah.